And why I say this because I don't want to go into the thing where I think that culture is going to be carried over by those 6 or 7, and believe that's going to be the case. We've got to establish it. June 1st is what we say, and it's a new program, it's a new team, and I think we're a lot less talking about last year as we go forward here now.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders, so let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
Today we are joined by the head men's basketball coach of Texas Christian University, Jamie Dixon. Coach Dixon has over 30 years of Division I coaching experience with 467 wins. At TCU, Coach Dixon has led a run that has seen the Horned Frogs make back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances for the first time in 70 seasons. In both the 21-22 and 22-23 seasons, TCU finished a program best tie for 5th place in the Big 12 and had a program best 8 Quadrant 1 wins. Coach Dixon's 13-year head coaching tenure at Pitt saw the Panthers earn 11 NCAA tournament berths. He was awarded the Naismith College Coach of the Year honors. Following the 08-09 season. As a player, Coach Dixon had a great career at TCU and was selected in the 1987 NBA draft by the Washington Bullets. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for giving up your time, coming on and talking hoops with me. This is an honor for me.
Well, it's good to be here, and I know you've been great for local basketball, both as a player, as a coach, and you love the game, and you love the kids, and you've got a real program there that you should be proud of.
Oh, thank you for that. Tyler Lumblade was a former player of mine and just speaks very kindly of you. So appreciate all the work you're doing with him and those guys.
He's a worker. I mean, kind of how it all fell into place last year. I got a call from Coach SMU, said, "Hey, there's this kid," and gave me the story, and he guaranteed that he told me how good he was, and he was right. And he's kind of put us in a little bit of a unique situation, but it's a good situation, and because he does everything right and gets Tyler gets all A's, he works his tail off, and he's gotten better and better. So it's when you don't foresee something like that, I guess you just it's great to watch. So we put him on scholarship last year, and he's just a worker, but he's on like a full academic scholarship too, who came here. So he does everything right.
30 plus years of coaching at the college level, I would imagine you have some daily habits that just set you up for success. So what are some of those things you've created over the years to you maximize your time?
I think I always like to work out. That's actually something, and it's not a great workout, but it's just some exercise is a good thing for me. I haven't got to it yet this morning. I'm out west, but that's something that I think as I've gone on more, I've continued to do, and I think that's a time for me to think and get away. And this could be a bike ride, it could be a weight room or elliptical. It's not much, but if I can get 45 minutes an hour, I just feel better, and I think that's big. Family is the other priority, and it's interesting. My kids are kind of going to college now, but one's come back to TCU, and my other one went away to Johns Hopkins, but she's been around a lot. So it's interesting. I thought we'd see less, and I almost feel like we're seeing more now that they're in college, and it's been great.
I think it's always a good sign when they want to come back and they want to be around. It means you did something right.
Well, as a coach, it's the time is it's so up and down, and weekends are not normal weekends, and it's a challenge at times. But I think they're more they've got that more a less of a schedule as well, so I think they can make some of our events, and we can do some things at night, and so I don't know. It just seems to me that like we're around a lot more, and it's been fun.
I asked Mike Neighbors how he balances family and coaching, and he said, "Don't try. It's pointless to try." But the career that you've had and with your family, how have you been able to balance the two?
Well, probably I'm very lucky, and I've told my wife that we didn't have, as we were, I guess, dating. I don't even recall we were in separate states for about 4 years.
Oh, wow.
I know she was in Hawaii, but so we never had quite that normal relationship as far as courting. But since that time, once we got engaged and married, well, I was 17 years in Pittsburgh and now 7 years at TCU. So, we've been very fortunate, and it's been great for our family. So we've been stable. Obviously, haven't had but just one move, and then obviously been at two great places. That the support's been amazing. The administration's been unbelievable, and so I've been lucky. I mean, I sometimes I tell her, like, I know you're a coach's wife, but you haven't really lived a true coach's wife's life as far as moving job to job. So once in a while, I'll remind her of that when she talks about me going on the road.
I'm sure that reminder goes over real well. She appreciates that.
Yeah. So we can say coach's wife, but two places in 25 years is
that's not bad.
It's not bad.
So you were a heck of a player, and I want to get into kind of returning to TCU in a little bit, and then got into the NBA a little bit with the Washington Bullets, which is incredible. The fact that you could even like just sniff that level really puts you in elite company, and I was so far from that. Just some of those habits that you have with working out and staying active now, do you think it comes from that playing background that you have?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I said the other day, talking about to a couple of the players and and their futures and trying to play at the next level. I was like, you can play as long as you can, and if I could play today, and go play somewhere, I'd do that and get at stop coaching. But obviously that decision was made for me 30 years ago. So yeah, I loved it, and loved playing. I loved the challenge. I was kind of always the underdog. I was actually with four of my high school buddies that I played with last night as I was seeing my dad, and we watched a Laker game like old days. But I was always an underdog. I was a late bloomer. I grew a foot in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I was hardly played my junior year, and just kind of have always kind of battled. Got a last minute scholarship to TCU, and came there as the 15th man, and just as guys left and I got better, and then I became then all of a sudden getting drafted was like the furthest thing from my mind when I was begging for a scholarship 4 years earlier, but I kept getting better, and I got better after college. I was still growing, filling out. So I had a kind of a different career. But I was fortunate. I got hurt playing in Holland. And I say I was fortunate because it made me stop and get into coaching, because I might have continued playing, and I was at a decent level, making decent living out of it. Good, but I wouldn't have liked to start getting into coaching at 30, and that was kind of the direction I was heading. So I'm the only guy that is fond of a 3-month stay in the hospital. It did get me on my path, and that's how I got a job at UC Santa Barbara as a graduate assistant. A couple months later. So, but I knew what I wanted to do, and that's I was fortunate. I've always been fortunate in that I knew what I loved, and I was going to find a way to stay in that business. And I wanted to be in sports. Basketball became the one, and I was able to find a way.
I think sometimes when you play at the level that you did, when you get into coaching, you're still watching and looking at the game through players' eyes, and maybe thinking about more of the way that you would have done it. Was there a time, do you still do that, view it like a player, or was there a time where you felt like, okay, I've switched over now to where I'm not viewing the game in how I would do things, but trying to help them really with how they should do things?
Yeah, I always see it through, I think, a player's eyes. My teams have always been, I grew up as a point guard, a passer that couldn't shoot. Eventually I became a good shooter last year of high school. but our teams have always been like high assists, known for their unselfishness. And I think, that's just reflect what kind of how I was raised really by my dad, and how we looked at the game, of how, unselfishness and pass first guys. I mean, we have a guy like Damian Ball, like he loves to get assists. Alex Robinson was a local guy. He loved to get assists. That was, that stuff I think still is with me. I've obviously evolved and changed what we do, but at the core of it, unselfishness is who we want to be.
And I would imagine playing for you that because you celebrate that and you get, because everybody celebrates the leading scorer, the guys that can do so much that way. But when you're celebrating those attributes like the one mores and being unselfish and giving up a good one to get a great one, yeah, like you said, I would imagine it just kind of snowballs and they want to please you in that way.
Yeah, I think, and it's almost to a fault sometimes. I find that maybe like after a press conference, and after a game in a press conference, I know, or when we talk to the team, I'll always point out the high assist guy, the guy that did the rebounding, the guy that maybe didn't show up in the points and the stats, and I'll even talk at a press conference. I find myself sometimes I won't even mention the guy that had like 25 points because I'll be pointing to these other things and that's how we coach at practice too. It's always great screen, great dive to get somebody else open. Great extra pass. Like we won't even talk about the assist, but the pass that leads to the assist,
right?
And compliment that guy. So I think at times I almost do it to a fault of, I'll forget a guy that don't mention a guy and by the way he had 25. And to a thing, but I think everybody else takes care of that. That's my belief. The media, the social media, the box score. So I really want to reflect on and compliment the guy that maybe goes a little bit more unnoticed by some, and that's in practice. That's in a huddle. That's in a game, and that's in a press conference.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
Anytime somebody gets a new job, I feel like in the press conference, there's two things that they say. They're going to have a great culture and they're going to play fast. Like it's right. You can almost just bet that those are the two things. So I want to tackle those two. The first is culture, a word that's used a ton, but it's still real. How does culture drive performance in your program?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a word that's used and it continues to be used. And I thought at Pitt we had an unbelievable culture. But now it's and my belief is you strive for it every year and every team, but it's even more challenging now because you have so many new players. At Pittsburgh, we had a program where we seemed to have 3 or 4 seniors every year, and we never lost a kid to transferring, and so we were always bringing in 3 guys. So I thought that the culture was the players brought that along, and now with how everything's going, I mean, we'll bring back 7 really core guys probably. Last year is about the same, 8 or 9, but that's unique. That's more than most. That's way more than most. So I think the culture, but I think every year now you're going to be creating that culture and to think. And why I say this, because I don't want to go into the thing where I think that culture is going to be carried over by those 6 or 7 and believe that's going to be the case. We've got to establish it. June 1st is what we say, and it's a new program. It's a new team. And I think we're a lot less talking about last year as we go forward here now, because it's just, you're just going to have too many new guys. But at the same time, I don't want to make that sound like a negative. I mean, that's our job, and just recognize it. And we've really put things in place where we've got that June, we call it almost like a training camp, those 8 weeks that we're together. It's, we have team building activities. We have speakers come in. We have obviously practices, workouts. 5-on-5 rather than shooting drills. I mean, we're doing team activities, team drills. So everybody's talked about this, but now we're starting in June. You were there, it was October 15th.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're June. We've got 4 more months. June, July, August, September, almost 5 more months to get to work. Let's take advantage of it.
I think you nailed it too, where it used to be where as a head coach and maybe even the assistants, you could just trust that the culture would be passed down. And the group that's becoming seniors, that they've been through it for 3 years. So, it's just going to be inherited by these new players. I think, to your point, the fact that there are so many changes now, it's going to force us as coaches to make culture more of a priority and to think of every year as new, because even the old way, back when I played and when you were at Pitt, like the old way of thinking it's just going to come up. The danger of that is not realizing that you're actually losing it, that it's seeping away. This way, golly, it's apparent that you need to hit it at in this June time.
Yeah. I've heard people saying that, and like you said, the culture, and I'm like, to me, it's, I've been here no matter how many years. You got to get a new culture every year. That's really where I'm coming from, and I don't mean to point out somebody saying something or something, but that's just my mentality. You can't take anything for granted, and and even with this, we have guys that could be coming back. We had last year that we kind of lose them for a month or two with work trying to get to the next level and doing the NBA workouts or whatever it may be, and so it's a process. And it evolved. Right now, we're doing stuff. We're doing individual stuff. Like putting all of our guys through NBA combine workouts. And my belief is every one of our guys will get to that point where they're at that. If you're going to be playing in the best league in the country, you're going to have guys that are going to be NBA, at least borderline players, and certainly guys that are going to play in the NBA. So, there's different stages. There's different periods, but the constant we've got to be trying to improve both individually and as a team.
The second part of that press conference is that teams are going to play fast, but you're in my opinion, in a rare place where you actually do it, but you led the country in fast break points. So my question is, how do you actually create a culture of playing fast and it actually translates to the floor?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a process, and I've always at Pitt, we always tried to fast break, and but when you're playing with two bigs and you're playing in the best conference and you got really good teams defensively, there's some things that are hard to overcome, but when I got to the Big 12, I saw how successful Kansas was. Usually that's what I did. Big 12, Big East, we saw how successful Connecticut was. So we kind of modeled ourselves after them and tried to adjust. But with Kansas, they were a team that pushed the ball. They've got transition, and they were winning the league. So I came in with a mentality to play a little faster and get more transition. And then as that has evolved, we've, I think, really drilled it all summer long. That was our emphasis this past summer. And then we also had the personnel. I mean, we really made an adjustment to be better when we wanted to get a shot after a miss, a rebound or a steal. We wanted to get a shot in our transition. And playing in this tougher conference defensively, a lot of things came into play. But also our personnel. Our personnel was built for it. And so while they weren't running like we needed to run, we pointed out when they weren't. We drilled them and held them accountable. And we had two very good point guards that can, and really a third that came off the bench that allowed us to do it for 40 minutes. And I think we're going to be in that position to do it again. That is certainly our intention. And really, we were very efficient. We got out and ran. We got a lot of steals. And the guys like doing it. Fans love watching it. And it certainly became a talking point throughout the country. We got to get better in the half court, which is something we were really good at Pitt, and really as a couple of years there at TCU, we were very good at, but we weren't as good as I thought we would be in the half court. We've got to shoot it better. That's part of it. We've got to screen better. But that's, as we work on our plans for this summer, June, that's a big emphasis. But we think we're positioned and we're able to recruit guys that run as well. So I think we're going to continue this, and that is our plan. But yeah, it was fun. All of our wings run really well. Our bigs, you have to have all five guys running. And what we've done is we've really broke down every situation. 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, 4-on-3s, 5-on-4s. We've really, I think, really have broke it down and put in a number of drills for transition drills that we run really all summer long, and that got us ready for it too, I think.
I felt like in the past when we try to run fast at Faith, which obviously pretty different level and types of players that we have here, but still fast is fast. And I felt like early on in practice, players are going to get out of control and they're going to make mistakes in an effort to play fast. But what's really difficult is for me as a coach to allow them to do that. Obviously give reminders and teach, but that's what, to me, what keeps a lot of teams from playing fast is coaches getting frustrated with the sloppiness early on and almost stopping the progress. How did you, now you're also dealing with elite players that are skilled. So maybe there's less turnovers and out of control, but when you're playing at that speed early on, how do you give up a little bit of control that typically coaches love to have?
Well, the great thing is we have all summer to do it. And we committed to it in the summer. We live with mistakes. What I found the biggest issue was not so much the mistakes, was getting guys to run, especially guys that didn't have the ball, and they thought they were running, but we would show them clips and videos of them when they not running, and getting the other guard or the other wing to run when he doesn't have the ball has been a huge feat. But we finally got that switched around the last couple of years, and they understood it. So that was my biggest battle that we've seen, and we've got to be prepared for that going forward here too. But if one guy doesn't run, we really define it as it's a 5-on. What we have to do at worst, we want to have a 5-on-4, and one guy not running kills the 5-on. We're down. We can't. It's the fast break's over. So we have to have all five guys running full speed with a purpose and with spacing, obviously, and a lot of other things. But if one guy doesn't run, the break is over. That's our mentality.
Man, you're right on the money. Like you get a group of players together and you say, hey, how many of you want to play fast? They're all going to raise their hand, but I don't think they really understand the effort that it takes to actually do it. And the fact that you're going to run many possessions and not receive it. So it's almost like you're running with the hope of getting it, but if you don't, that doesn't change the expectations.
Yeah, the reward is not there every time. And so how often are you going to run without getting
it's selfless. Reward? You really got to be selfless to do it.
Yeah. We talk about our big guys making another guy guard you.
Yeah.
We talk about, running in space, getting to that dead corner to create space to flatten the defense. So, and you may not get it. And so that's what I talked about earlier, where we talked about the guy that, sprints the floor in transition and may not get the basket, may not get the assist, but it's the guy that really made two guys guard him or made them make a decision and put them in rotation. So we reward them. They don't get, and I say that they don't get rewarded. They may not get rewarded on the box score, but we have to reward them as coaches and staff.
That's good. Do you think that it's difficult? I think you felt that maybe this year that it's difficult to be a fast-paced team where we're looking to really to get shots, not just play in transition, but shots out of transition, because translating that to being a good half-court team, because the aggressiveness and the shots that you get in transition are sometimes they're different than what it feels like in the half court when you're actually running action. Do you think that's maybe why there's not a disconnect, but some teams can be better in one and then struggle in the other?
Yeah, I mean, with our running this year, and we were elite. I mean, we led
Yeah.
the scoring in transition by a lot, in fast break points. And for some reason, our offensive rebounding numbers went down, and we're trying to figure that out. I don't think there's a big correspond. We've really analyzed it. We've tried to find. I mean, we took less threes, so we think possibly we got more layups. We shot a higher percentage. We led the league in 2-point baskets, field goal percentage from two. So we did a lot of good things, but we did an offensive rebound, and possibly that was based on we were trying to find a stat where we 3-point shots are rebounded. You would think defense gets less, offense gets more of the 3-point shots, the long rebounds, the caroms, the defense spread out a little bit more. So we think the less threes may have led to that, but we've really analyzed that and tried to figure out, because if we had kept the fast break points going with our offensive rebound, we were number one in the country last year in offensive rebounding efficiency. If we had kept that this year, our offense would have been, elite, and it wasn't there. So we know where our deficiency is. We don't shoot it great from three. This past year, we intend to be better next year. And I say that we shot it better as the year went on. We had a real slow start with guys out, a whole different team for really a lot of the year. But our guards were out for 15 games. That had to have something to do with it on shots, because they're distributing as well as shooting.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of factors, I think, that came into it, but the consistent thing was we continued to get transition baskets. That was good. The defense was good. Our rebounding should have been better, and I don't know if the transition baskets was a detriment toward our rebound.
That's interesting, because in transition we run to spots. I've noticed when we're in the half court and we're actually going through kind of our flow or continuity, when the shot goes up, we'll have 3 or 4 crash like they're supposed to. But in transition, they tend to sprint to a spot and stand and watch. It's almost like there's a disconnect between I should be crashing the exact same way out of transition that I do in the half court. I think it's maybe that next, like, I can't imagine in their minds what's going on. Sprint to a spot, get dangerous, be prepared. He's driving. That click moment of I should also be moving. That's a disconnect for us. But again, we're just these are just teenagers at the high school level.
Well, maybe they're tired. That can be it. I always think of the emotional part of it, or their mind. That's what you can change. And maybe they thought they were open. Maybe they were tired of running. Maybe they thought the guy was going to make the shot. There's certain things that come into play, but it is, we want to make it very clear that they're rebounding on every shot. And I say every shot, we want them going, and that's why we've been good at it. We talk about rebounding on the pass. So we know our team so well, we know our players so well. When this is slot to slot and he's swinging it to the corner on the flight of the ball, we should be going to the glass, because we know that guy in the corner is going to shoot it, because that's what we practice over and over again. So yeah, there's we define it, and we have coaches watch him every day and say, he didn't go, or he didn't get back, depending on the role. But we don't do it every time, and that's what we're striving to get to.
Yeah. I love the fact that you thank you for sharing that you showed your guys running hard, and also on film show them times when they're not, because I think that's everybody says they want to play fast, but actually making it happen is different. And I was thinking of at TBC a few years ago, sitting in the crowd, and one of my friends that I was there with, Coach Huggins from West Virginia, was talking, and my friend raised his hand shyly and asked the question. He says, "How do you get your guys to play so hard?" And he just looks at him, and one word just goes, treadmill.
Yeah.
So we're all kind of looking at each other like, what? And the way you explained it, though, that's actually it's helpful.
Yeah, no, he's. I mean, I know I've heard that that's what they do. They have the treadmill on the sideline. So I've heard that, but the other thing is we have a standard, and it relates well now, even more so. I'm heading there to see him. He's getting honored today, but Desmond Bain. We showed clips of Desmond Bain when he was running for us, and we talked about first step. Like some guys, they hop, they look, they sideways. I mean, his first step, it was like, it just shot out of a cannon, and we use that phrase, and that's really where the difference. That's where the fast breaks are made. The first step, that's where the layup is decided. The defender may freeze, he may be mad at the shot, missed, foul, whatever it may be. If you're going the other way, you can beat them. And so we show clips of not doing it, but we also show clips of this is what you want to be. And Des, our best example, he's our standard. And
pretty good
for him in the NBA. So
yeah, pretty good example right there. Do you think that's a part of skill work? Like if that one step is a skill, it's not natural to do that. What's natural is to turn and assess, maybe even walk a couple steps as you get your bearings. Do you think that's a skill that you got to actually take them through, like in skill work?
Oh, yeah. No. We practice that. We practice guys following their shot. We do drills like that. We'll do 5-on-0 where it's first step, but a defensive drill that leads to transition and talk about first step and it's drilled and but fatigue and guys playing too many minutes those things factor in. Didn't get it last time. I mean, we got to address all those things because they're all fast enough to run. It's the decision to do it every time is the challenge.
How did you deal with that with minutes? Because with playing fast, the truth is they shouldn't be able to stay in as long. I mean, obviously there's normal breaks with free throws out of bounds and the timeouts that you guys have and the length that they get to recover pretty good there. But if there is no stoppage in play, they should have to come out. Do you find guys slowing down a little bit so that they can stay on more, or are you able to get them at a point where they're ready to come off and you guys sub freely like that?
Yeah, we want to be in that point, and sometimes you're where you can sub before they're tired and have a rotation and but things get changed, and we had guards out early and didn't have that rotation, and then we had some forwards out. So I mean, there's times and sometimes we just miss it. We don't have the guys sub too late or sub too early, but it's Coach Huggins mentions treadmill. I go to playing time. I think we don't take a guy out for missing a shot. We take him out for effort, and that's really what it is. So I know every guy's trying to make a shot when they shoot it. It's really effort. Not cutting, not getting back on defense, not running the floor, not going to glass. Those are effort things. Those are decisions that they made.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. I would imagine if I ever had the opportunity, if Coach Drew asked me for some reason to come and coach with him, that it wouldn't happen. But anyway, that'd be pretty special. Getting to come back to the place where I played, I'd have a sense of pride in just being where I'm at. I would imagine you felt the same way coming back, the place that you played. So with that feeling, what's something that makes TCU basketball different?
Yeah. I mean, I think there is something to that. I mean, I know I kind of always thought about coming back and coaching at TCU. But as I got to Pitt and they were in the Conference USA and Mountain West, you didn't really think of it as much.
Yeah.
Then they got to the Big 12 but it all happened really quick. You think you have it all planned, but it all happened real quick. It was like a couple days really that come into play. We were doing well at Pitt. They had a good coach here, but just a couple of things went wrong. They had some injuries. And all of a sudden, I get the call, and it was everybody thinks like these things are all planned out, and you have this, thing, and it's. I had a friend of mine, tell me one time, it's like, there's no other business in the world where you have to make a life, a life changing decision in 24 hours. But this is kind of the career, and I've told people, I didn't say it initially, but in my first month or so at TCU, I was like, what did I do? I mean, there was a lot of things I aware of, and I hadn't really researched it. Everybody thought, TCU, you knew the place. I mean, I've only been back here a couple times.
That's true. Yeah.
For a football game. I mean, it's not like I came here and saw the fans, the crowd, and came to a game. I mean, walked around in campus. I mean, it was an interesting, month or two. But I tell you, going back to where we started, when I felt good was when my family finally got down there in June. They finished up at school, and when they got there, and then that's when I knew we were good, and that's where it turned. So, getting back to your question on TCU, yeah, it probably means more. It means more because I think our path, my path, TCU gave me a chance. I didn't have a lot of scholarships. They took a chance on me. It was a high level at the time, so it was really the highest level, Southwest Conference. But then our path and where we've gone in different leagues, and we've had struggles obviously the last 30 years. So it's to see where it's at now, and you asking me to be on your podcast. I mean, I think we're doing things something right.
That's not the measure that you've arrived, Coach.
Yeah, that's it.
30 plus years of experience. What's one thing you do differently if you could start over in coaching?
I would have married my wife earlier. Is that good?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously,
right.
She had such a big impact on your life and the path and probably the peace that you have. I get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a coach's wife is it's a really, really probably the most important assistant you're going to have.
You mentioned earlier that she was in Hawaii, and with that, how did that work? I mean, if you don't mind going into a little bit of the past.
We met in Hawaii. My first, I guess you could say, full-time coaching job, restricted earnings in Hawaii. So we met there, and then I moved right after we met to northern Arizona. She stayed in Hawaii, eventually got to Arizona, and then I moved back to Hawaii. Another job opened at Hawaii, and then we bought a place in Hawaii, engaged. So I thought we were going to be there for good. I loved it there. She was from there, and we bought a place by the beach. I was good, and then this job opened at Pitt, where I was going to be associate head coach for a guy I really believed in Ben Howland. And she said, just make sure you're there for the wedding, and I'll meet you in Pittsburgh. And so she supported me in moving from Hawaii to Pittsburgh. So,
Coach, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Probably my best recruiting pitch ever was that right there. So, so I don't know where we're kind of all over the place on this, but while we were long distance, she always gives me a hard time that it took 5 years to get married, but we never really lived in the same city. So I think that matters a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll tell you.
Or continent.
Yeah, there's just 8 hours of ocean in between. But I'll tell you, I can't believe you ever came back, because if there's one place that my wife and I, we love going to Hawaii, and we do it pretty cheap. And there's some great families through faith over the years that have helped us to get to do that on 2 teacher salaries. But every time we're there, Coach, we always look at schools and we're like, man, I bet they need teachers. Like, there's going to be a day where we just don't come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's we're playing in Diamond Head next year, the tournament. So, we've always gone back. We're not, her parents moved out with us now, so we don't go back as much, but we used to, she spent the summer there, and we love it, and it's special. A lot of friends there, but just getting harder and harder to get there.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team. Coach, the speed round. Quick questions. First thing that pops in your head, blurt it out. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Mocha chip.
Greatest shooter of all time?
Curry.
Texting or talking?
Talking I prefer, but texting is the way the kids want to do it.
It's the quickest way to them, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Greatest basketball movie of all time?
We were just talking about that. Okay, I always throw one out that I loved Air. I watched that the other day. The Michael Jordan, with Sonny Vaccaro. A lot of friends were portrayed in that, so that was fun. But I just saw it on the movie channel the other day, and it's old, 77. I actually looked it up, and it's called One on One with Robbie Benson. And a lot of people, you young people, don't know it, but
Coach, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a great one, and it really relates to college, and it doesn't make the coach look real good, but it was. I kind of used it as motivation when I was coming up as play. So I mean, I could go down the list. We were talking about it last night, last night with my buddies.
Yeah,
and I mean Hoosiers, obviously. I love the Hoosiers. There's some great ones, but those are probably my two favorite Hoosiers and Blue Chips. And Air was good too. I really like that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that, and I'll definitely check out the one-on-one.
You can get it. It's like one-on-one, Amazon Prime.
Okay,
it's good.
For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
You got to get one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you make that happen for us in Texas, Coach? Just
yeah. I'm trying to get college to go to, and not that I have any say in it, but I mean, I think eventually it will, that we go to 24. And, I've done a lot of international basketball, and we play with the 24, and I just feel like, and that's part of our, I didn't talk about that, fast breaking. Like, we do a lot of, like, we'll do a 3-on-2 continuous drill. We have a shot clock on it. Like it's 10-second shot clock. So, I mean, all the drills we do, we have a short shot clock. So you have to play fast.
That's really good. Yeah. So that way it's not 3-on-2 with an unrealistic speed.
Right.
They've got that influence of the clock pushing them. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we do that. And of course, you need to have a manager that can do that and do the clock all the time. But I mean, it's, we have those resources, but I think it's that's been something that's helped us too. We put a clock on everything. I mean, we'll do a half court 3-on-3 and, there's a clock, I mean, it's 12 seconds is generally the number we use. And, so you have to run good actions, and that's half court, so it means every cut has to be with a purpose. Every screen, every pass has to be a purpose. No wasted cuts, no slow back cuts, that's it. But I got that from the theory is why international players are getting better, and are better offensively, is that they're playing with the shot clock, 24-second shot clock all their lives. And that's making them make quicker decisions, space the floor, be on the attack, and they're catching up. They're catching up.
That's a good nugget right there. Because I think even at the high school level, we don't have the same personnel, but how easy for me just to even count to 12. I mean, that it can be done. Favorite holiday?
Basketball, we don't have Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I would say, probably Easter. Well, I had a great Easter Sunday, so
nice.
It was just, we hung out. I had to fly out that night, but we just hung out. We had a brunch. My wife made brunch, so I think we had a good one. We had a good Easter. We went to mass early, and it was a good Easter. We got this, and we just didn't do anything. We just sat around.
That's the best.
Yeah.
When you look at your day and you're like, you know what? Nothing on. And then you got some annoying coaches wanting you to jump on a podcast early in the morning. But A couple more. You're up 3 on defense with 7 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul?
Our rule is 10 seconds left in the backcourt. We would foul less than and then 5 or less in the front court. So 7,
gray area.
You have to get under 5 is what we say. And it wasn't that way. I used to not be that way. It was always get a stop. But now that everybody on the floor can shoot threes, and I just changed that philosophy.
Yeah. What book would you give someone?
Wow. I was just telling someone how I don't read anymore. As my eyes.
I can always edit this out, Coach.
Yeah.
You can say pass.
I used to read more. Now I'm doing more like reading, watching documentaries.
Yeah. What's a good documentary you've watched lately?
Wow. I just watched AC Green. It's a short one. It was on ESPN. I watched that yesterday.
I got to watch that because I was a big fan of his in high school, the way that he lived. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very short. It's only about 10 minutes, but it's on ESPN Plus, and I just watched it one yesterday, so that's pretty good. Quick turnaround. That was yesterday. I'm not, my eyes, I don't know. I don't read as much. I read articles. So not so much books anymore. I used to read the Grisham books. I used to love those. I read every one of those.
Nice.
But that was probably my favorite.
Last one, in basketball, who's the GOAT?
LeBron. I'm saying right now, but I'm LeBron. I say LeBron, and some will say Jordan. I just watched that thing, and Jordan, there's something to it. But I just that LeBron has done it with all these different teams and all these different rosters in a new age, and they won last night, and maybe now it's because he's with the Lakers, but don't be surprised if they're in the Western Conference Finals here real soon. So I think. There's some of this. I saw LeBron as a freshman in high school, believe it or not, and before people knew who he was, because he was from Akron and Pittsburgh. They're like hour and a half. We're recruiting another kid, Maverick Carter, and the guy has lived up to all the hype and done more, and that's unbelievable. So I put him up. I do. I really do, and I know Jordan won and more, but he's done it with, sometimes he's gotten teams to the finals with like no all-stars.
So true. Yeah.
That's what I say.
Coach, this has been so enjoyable. I've been a fan of yours from far away. I appreciate how you've treated Tyler and really love the way that you guys play, but man, just blown away that you would give me some of your time with your busy schedule. Really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate all you do, and I know basketball is just one thing in what you're teaching over there, and love what you do at high school. And I just want to coach. I know where I want to be. I want to be a junior college coach. That was my goal. I wanted to coach at LA Valley College. That was my coaching goal. So I'm still trying to get that job.
Maybe, Coach. Just keep. That's good, man. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Good luck.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.